We are joined by Adi Granov here, and this live stream is presented by Marvel Contest of Champions. So excited, so much fun. Adi, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm doing great, yeah.
This is, what I like about this is it is very much the Citizen Lounge. We're chilling here, we're having a good time, but it's a place to relax a little bit.
Yeah,
you get a little quiet time.
It's like a little oasis here, because the floor is really, really busy, and yeah, just getting here, the crowd is insane.
Yeah.
You're an extremely busy guy.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy couple of days, yeah.
Yeah? It's been a busy couple of 10 years, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, okay, it's been a couple of busy days at the show, but yeah, it's been pretty busy.
Do you have a booth here, or
Yeah,
are you set up
I'm
with...
Artist Alley.
Yeah, your Artist Alley. How much fun is it down there? Like, I was talking to one of our colorists, Rochelle Rosenberg, earlier, and, you know, just like, Artist Alleys, to me, are like the greatest places at a Comic-Con, because you see your friends, you see people, you buy art, you buy, like, it's just the coolest.
I mean, Artist Alley is almost like a con in itself. It's like a world in itself, because especially here in New York, it's on a separate floor, and it's actually really quite fun for me to come up here. It's the first time to see the main floor. But yeah, it's just, I'm sitting next to another artist, Mark Brooks, who's a really good friend of mine, and it's kind of like our little get-together.
Yeah.
You know, we just go from con to con together.
Do you do more cons in the States or Europe? Like, I'm curious what the difference is, really, between a European con and a US con.
I do about maybe 4 cons in the US. I live in the UK, so that I do maybe 2 or 3 shows in Europe, and then a couple of shows in Asia as well every year. So kind of try to spread it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it depends. Some of the cons, some of the bigger cons are quite similar to the American shows, but then some of the smaller ones are very different in many different ways. But and then some of the cons in Asia, again, are like the big ones that we do are very kind of American style, so similar to, you know, New York Comic Con.
Yeah, it's neat.
It sounds like Artist Alley. I haven't been able to escape this lounge just yet, but it sounds like Artist Alley is like, I don't know, like a reunion of sorts, you know? Like, it seems like you're seeing a lot of friends. And so it's kind of cool because I hear that from a lot of my friends that, hey, the thing I love about New York Comic Con is I get to see people every year at the same time, and it feels good. It's people that I might not be able to connect with as a New Yorker. We're all very busy people. It sounds like that's what's going on in Artist Alley.
I mean, we all, you know, artists, we're quite solitary when we do our work. You know, we live kind of all over the world, work at home usually, so we don't really see that many people. But then when we come to a con, then suddenly, you know, it's like like I said, it's like a reunion with, and it's not just New York Comic Con, but a lot of cons that we do throughout the year. And I end up, some of my closest friends are people that I've met through the con circuit.
Sure.
And when I'm at home, you know, we might Skype or call on the phone or whatever, but it's really an event like this is what brings us together, and then we hang out, go to dinners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's excellent.
We were talking to someone who, one of our artists is working on a new book with a writer, and they met for the first time in person here at the con.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Have you had those experiences before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of pretty typical, actually, that a con would be the first place that you meet a collaborator. And also, I mean, because Marvel offices are here in New York, it's a really good opportunity to see all the editors, to see all of the, you know, people, again, that I communicate with a lot through email, but often here at this show, I've met a lot of my editors for the first time face-to-face, and, you know, being able to actually put a face to the name. And so, yeah.
That's great.
Well, I tell you, what's great about this for me is I get to put a face with the things that I've been consuming. Mm-hmm. Most notably, even last night, I was playing Marvel SpiderMan on PS4. Mm-hmm. I understand you had a hand in that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I designed the Velocity suit for it.
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah, well,
the Velocity suit is so rad.
Well, thank you, yeah. I mean, you know, I say a little bit because the scale of the game is so huge, and, you know, I worked on that suit, and I did the theme, the Spider-Man theme, the whatever it's called, the custom theme for the game.
Oh, I love that. I have it.
Oh,
cool. I got the deluxe digital edition.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, I didn't actually even realize just how big that was going to be until we were at the San Diego Comic-Con and we did a Marvel Games panel there, and suddenly I walked out in front of something like 6,500 people who were going crazy for it. I was like, oh, okay, this is huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really fun.
I'm sure you've had art on display in Hall H before with all the Marvel Studios films and everything that. But I'm like that feeling has got to be wild.
I mean, it's always, you never, just because I worked on something big that was big, a few years ago, it doesn't mean, so you never know, and it's always really exciting when like a new project ends up being like a really big thing. And I mean, I have to admit, I'm not much of a gamer. I don't really have time to play games, so I have to say I didn't realize just how big this thing is, or how anticipated it was, and then when it came out, all the reviews have been so positive about it. I was like, okay, I'm really glad I said yes to this.
Yes.
And now think about it, there are so many people that are just going to habitually boot up their PlayStation 4s and stare at your work immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I have no reason to ever change that theme.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, unless you make another.
And the thing about video games is, like, we spend so many hours playing them, too. Like, you read a comic book, that's 20 minutes maybe for an issue. Sometimes you spend more time absorbing the art, or you watch a movie, 2.5 hours or whatever. But a video game, you'll be involved with that for 20, 30, 40. There are some games I know people play for hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild.
Look, that's why I don't play them, because I wouldn't get any work done.
Yeah. We had a great question in here from social. Asked, what is it like to work with such iconic characters, such as Spider-Man or Black Panther or Avengers or Iron Man?
I mean, it's almost like to me, it seems like a bigger deal in hindsight, because whenever a job comes in, I'm like, okay, what needs to be done? Let's get on with it, kind of thing. So I don't really think about it. If I get, I mean, I guess it's a good thing that I don't get kind of like overawed by something while I'm working on it. It's only then when it comes out, just like it happened with Spider-Man game, that's when I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that kind of was a big deal, So like with the Black Panther movie, when they asked me to design the suit for it, I was like, okay, pressure is on to do a good job, but I didn't really think about it, or I don't think anybody really knew how big it was going to be. And then suddenly it got so big, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like a really big deal.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's kind of like in hindsight seems like to me, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I worked on that, So,
I think that's a healthy way to approach things, though. In life, really nothing is a big deal until it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it seems like for you, getting work done and doing what you do best, it's not a big deal.
I mean, it's when I look at kind of objectively at things, I think a lot of people freeze because of the pressure of working on something really big. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's almost like the fact that I don't really like consider it that way is a benefit, because then I can actually get on with the job of doing it.
Right.
But yeah.
And then that's more time for beekeeping.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's just let that hang there.
Okay.
When you do something like the Iron Man suits or Black Panther suit, how many versions of it do you work on? How many iterations do you typically?
I mean, I guess every project is different, but usually the way it works is I get asked to like, oh, can you do your take on this character? So I do kind of like my initial version of it, and then the director, usually it's the director who kind of responds to it, and if the director is like, oh yeah, I like that, then we go in that direction, and then we explore, and then we usually go sideways sometimes go backwards, and just kind of try to explore many different like elements of it to try to cover all kind of possibilities, but then we usually end up back to kind of bringing it back to that idea that like the director responded to originally. So that's how it happened on Iron Man, the first movie. Kind of the very first one idea I had is so close and much closer to the final one than a lot of the stuff we did in between. And on Black Panther, it was kind of a similar thing where I did my treatment, and the response was so good that then we kind of like stuck with it. It's just that then there's a lot of work. There's months and months and months of work of trying to figure out everything down to, on Black Panther, how the claw retracts, and, so it's a lot of detail that in the end, just flashes on the screen like this, and you don't really notice it, but actually a lot of work went into it.